are listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, Tom Edwards and James Jones. And I've only just stopped feeling sick after the last 15 minutes of that phenomenal win over Tottenham on Sunday. But to a man, what a performance. And if that Billy Bonds imagery of that heroic Czech son of a gun with blood pouring down his face didn't move you, then nothing ever will. Thomas Souček and Vladimir Coufal played like warriors, both got some big knocks, but got up and ploughed on. Jesse Lingard's goals, a thing of beauty, and the band's celebration afterwards hit the right note for me. There is nothing like beating Tottenham and to go forth with the victory too. Well, James, how are you? Champions League dead certs, aren't we?
I'm absolutely buzzing still, if I'm honest, mate. Yeah, definitely been playing the Champions League theme tune over and over again, in anticipation of next year, and then obviously coupled with Boris's announcement that fans will be back, potentially by the last game of the season. So we might have a bit of a celebration there, but if not, there's real hope that we could be back in stadiums to see us walk out to that wonderful music next season. So yeah, absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Brilliant. Yeah, that's did lift the nation somewhat, didn't it? As if beating Tottenham wasn't enough. The fact we might actually be able to go and watch our team again, although that could be the bit that brings it all crashing down, couldn't it?
It needs to be nailed on before that game, just in case.
Absolutely, yeah. We have to beat Southampton at home in the last game of the season. 5 minutes in, Thomas Souček puts the bar slightly over hit and out for a goal kick, and there's 60,000 people on his back slagging him off, saying, "Oh, you're rubbish! What a waste of money! Get out of our club! Confidence is destroyed." And then we go and lose 3-1 to Southampton. But Tom, it's very, very good stuff. There's brilliant chat with Tony Cottee coming up later in the show. Man, he scored against Tottenham on his debut, but to go forth as well as beating Tottenham, sometimes beating Spurs, Tom, can just feel like the highlight of a season, can't it? The only good thing to happen in an otherwise drab mid-table or relegation threatened season. But I don't know, it felt a bit, there's just something so much better about it, knowing that, yeah, we've beaten Tottenham, which is brilliant because we love beating Tottenham. But as well, the fact that we actually moved us into a Champions League spot when we're level on games with all those teams around us, just gave it that extra edge for me. Same feelings for you?
Yeah, exactly, mate. I remember, we've had some brilliant wins against them, the ones in the League Cup and all them, but ultimately they've amounted for nothing for us. And yeah, it's curtailed their season a bit and derailed a few of their title bids. But we haven't ever had that moment where it's something on the line for us apart from the rivalry for a long time now. And to play that game, to go 9 points clear of them, I think it is, and to be the team pushing for Champions League when they were talked about as title contenders 10 games in, saw the graphic from that, we weren't even in the top half. And now look at it. And Mourinho coming out beforehand and saying that, look, come the end of the season, West Ham will be in their rightful place and will be above them. They don't have to play a certain amount of games, X, Y, Z. And I think all we did is show up and prove that it's a proper football team we now got there. And David Moyes and all of them are believing that we can go toe-to-toe, and we will. So to come out, not only beat the rivals, not only beat Mourinho, but to go in a Champions League spot and capitalise on the teams around us dropping points, showed a proper mentality and one to get behind.
Yeah, absolutely. There's every chance that could be the peak of West Ham's sort of footballing memories. That is probably, but it really is, isn't it? Since we've been at the London Stadium or whatever. It's the very peak of we've never been in such a good position after so many games in a season since we've been at the London Stadium. So it's fair to say that this is, or that of the weekend when the final whistle blew, is our best moment for 5 years or whatever. So it's thrilling stuff. Just quickly, lads, before we move on, do the housekeeping, let everyone know what's coming up on the show. I just want to get your thoughts, just a bit of a quick fire one. Jonesy, we'll go to you first. What was better feeling, that one on Sunday or after earlier in the season when Lanzini pings it in the top corner to grab a 3-3 draw at the Tottenham Stadium?
It's a tough one. I'm still going to stick with Lanzini. I know, obviously, winning at the weekend meant we went fourth, and it basically just ruined Spurs' even sort of very faint hopes of getting back in it. But having been 3-0 down with 8 minutes to go, and then to equalise with a goal like that in their own backyard, when they thought they had the game wrapped up, 8 minutes earlier. Nothing beats that. Nothing.
Yeah. I'm sort of inclined to agree. Those moments, I think we said it on the podcast afterwards, those moments are what football is about. And it's the same feelings for you, or do you think that the actually getting a win and going into the Champions League trumps that?
I have to go Lanzini as well, just because I think it will stand the test of time. No matter what we do this season, maybe we'll look back in it in a few months and say that Spurs win was absolutely massive. But no matter what happens this season, that moment will be something we talk about for 30, 40 years. That high was one of the most euphoric moments in a long time as a West Ham fan. So I have to give it to Manu.
James, I've developed this habit recently. There's absolutely loads to speak about from Tottenham, but I'm just going to throw to you first, and you pick the first thing that you want to talk about that wonderful, wonderful Tottenham game.
You briefly touched on it, mate. I think Tom may have touched on it as well. The mentality throughout. We knew Tottenham were going to control large parts of that game. I feel like we say it every week, but West Ham of old would have crumbled and lost that 4-2, 5-2 probably. We've done it in the past, or they would have nicked a last-minute equaliser. They wouldn't have, that ricochet off Son would have ended up going in the back of the net, or Bale's effort would have hit the underside of the bar and gone in like Lanzini's did at their place. And just the mentality to go 1-0 up after 5 minutes, then to get that second goal at the beginning of the second half, and then just to stay resilient and defend. And still cause them problems, particularly in the first half. It caused them, it wasn't just that one effort. We did have our opportunities. And if there was a game that purely summed up how far we've come under David Moyes and what David Moyes had done to the players' mentality, I think it's that. I keep thinking about it and just think that what we saw at the weekend, it isn't the West Ham we used to. It's the West Ham we used to this season, because it has been pretty consistent. But we're so used to West Ham losing those games, even at 2-0 up. We've never been safe at 2-0 up. So yeah, for me that's the big one, and I think Lingard has had a big role to play with that since he's come in January, because he's brought in that that experience he's had at a club he's won trophies at, a club that's built on winning, a winning mentality. I'm not going to say big team mentality, but a winning
it is,
mentality.
Though, isn't it? It is, though. Thanks, Manuel. Thanks, Manuel.
a winning mentality. And I think bringing in someone, I know we questioned Jesse Lingard, but he's come in and he's almost solidified that. He's helped grow that even further in the dressing room. And you can see, he tweeted the other day saying it was like family already. And he's only been in the club for a month, not even that. So, and that just shows just everything seems to be going right. Everything went right, apart from conceding the corner from the near post for the smallest player on the pitch with a header,
smallest man ever.
Yeah. Other than that, everything went right. Everything's going right, and it's just all so wonderful. And I haven't stopped giggling since.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? So after the game, me and James were texting each other, and Tom, you were surprisingly quiet. I think I saw a couple of tweets. I was expecting a little 10-pint barrage.
My hands, mate. I'm shaking.
yeah, that was it. So me and James were texting each other. Tom was nowhere to be seen, so I gave James a little FaceTime. He was out on his balcony up there in Bournemouth, and we're just chatting, and all we did for the first 30 seconds of the call was just giggle at each other. Don't think we said any words, did we?
No.
just could not believe it. It was wonderful stuff. James, you mentioned it there. You said when your luck's in, or the things just went for us, and I think that what you can see at the moment, obviously the feel good factor is great, the confidence is good, but just one of those things that's immeasurable in football, that if you could bottle and sell would be worth absolutely millions and millions of pounds, is that it is just when your luck's in, like West Ham's is at the moment, it's really in, and when it isn't, like Tottenham's, it really isn't. I mean, that one with the post at the end, as it was like looping over the keeper, I just had, that knot of like permanent like frustration with West Ham that even now it just doesn't properly go away. Like even though you're just waiting for it to come back, and that as it was looping over the keeper, it was all in slow motion, and I'd already said, "Fuck's sake." Exactly the sort of thing. I hate West Ham. So frustrated. Oh my God, why do I do it? It was already halfway out my mouth as it was looping over. I was just like, so unfair, so unlucky. And then seeing it hit the post, we've had a few of them this season, haven't we? Where, and like you said, James, broken record stuff. You think, well, that doesn't happen normally. We don't normally do that. And when Bale hits the bar and Declan Rice gets that blocking when like it was a dead cert goal, wasn't it? Any other time, it's just like
it's even that build up to when Bale hit the bar when Kane found himself clear. And he had Son and Dele Alli.
Certain goal.
It was three of them running at Fabianski. Any other time, Kane plays that ball earlier than he does, and Son or Ali gets a tapping, but he delays it for whatever reason, allows Declan Rice to get in and make the block. And that was another bit of luck because Harry Kane, world-class striker, makes that pass 9 times out of 10 at exactly the right time in order to get the assist. For some reason, he didn't do it. And again, that was our luck. And then obviously, straight after that, Bale hits the bar. Just everything went for us, apart from Lucas Moura scoring the only header he'll ever score in his life.
4 foot Moura rising from the abyss. Tom, you talk to me. What were your main sort of takeaways from it afterwards? Are there any bits that stuck out in your mind, or that you feel like you want to get off your chest and talk about tonight? Because this is the forum.
There's 2 things. I'll start. Joe mentioned it then, and what Lingard's brought to us, and I personally want to talk about. I think he's got that unique ability to make everyone around him better. He got the confidence to get on it in tight spaces. He's good enough to wriggle out of them dribble. He's a ball carrier. He's quick. He presses from the front better than anyone we've seen for a while. We thought Bowen was good at it. The amount of ground that boy covers like in sprints is pretty crazy, and he sets the tone up there. And I think he just feels free. We saw at the World Cup, he was one of the main reasons we did so much damage to teams on the break and everything because of his running and his intelligence off the ball. And he had lost that, but he's come here and he's found his feet. And I think we've got a seriously good player. Like, he's making a lot of difference. I think the 3 or 4 games he's been here have been 3 or 4 of our best performances going forward and the most dangerous we've looked, even the Sheffield United one. So I think getting him in and actually gets out of him is a story that I think most Premier League fans are quite enjoying because he's a likeable guy and he deserves this run of form. So that's my first one. And the second one is you again mentioned it, is the Souček and Soufal thing, when Soufal gets that knock and Souček sprints in and gives him checks on him and everything, all that. Like, I just love him. I just absolutely love that bloke. And that's the other one, mate.
Yeah, that was funny, wasn't it, when he's just sprinting over, like, and then you can hear, I think West Ham released the video today with like the audio from the pitch audio ramped up, and you can just hear, I think it's Cresswell going, "Tom, he's all right." No, he's Scouse, isn't he? That was terrible. He's all right, Tom. He's all right. Apparently, I can't do Scouse accents. I don't know if anyone else wants to have a go. But yeah, you can just hear Cresswell saying, "Tom, he's all right. Calm down. Like, what are you doing?"
That was a better Scouse attempt than the previous one.
I know, that was a shambles, wasn't it? Yeah, all right, mate. No, yeah, I could do Scouse, I think. Just sounds nothing like Aaron Cresswell. I'll work on that afterwards. I'll be improved for next week, I promise. But Lingard, honestly, I just can't believe how good he's been. I mean, absolutely fair play. I remember saying in the podcast before his first game, we weren't particularly damning about him.
I was positive.
Yeah, all right. But I think it's just because he's a 5'8" attacking midfield player who likes a few step overs like Ben Rama. That is very much your type, isn't it?
Get him in. Yeah, get him in the bag, mate. That's it. Yeah. If they can do a step over and they've got half wrong foot.
Yeah, exactly. They're a Tom Edwards type of player. But I remember saying before, and I was like, you've signed Lingard, whoopee. I think it's proof that David Moyes knows more than most football fans, including about what's right for the team and what isn't, and what players are going to be good and what aren't. But I do think as well, it's not for any fans who doubted it before. All these people coming out now going, "Oh, if you doubted Lingard, you're a clown," or whatever. I think it's totally understandable to have doubted him before, isn't it? And I'm not just saying that because I doubted it slightly, but he hadn't got a sniff at Man United for God knows how long. I know Fernandes is good. There's nothing suggesting that he had this sort of form in his locker. I thought it was at least going to take him a few weeks to get back up with the pace of it. But he's easily one of our sort of best players. A Fulham game, he was quiet, but everyone was a bit off. But James, what do you put that down to? Because, you know, really, for someone to hit the ground running so well, it is quite surprising, wouldn't you say?
I don't know. I mean, I'm like you. I was expecting him to make some kind of impact eventually. I think we were all surprised when he just walked straight into the starting 11, given the options we already had, like Lanzini and stuff like that. But I suppose I'm not surprised that he's having now gone straight into the starting 11, that he kind of took his opportunity. He's clearly trying to play for a place in the England squad in the summer. Now, I know Sky Sports were pretty much writing him off with that opportunity in the build-up to the game at the weekend when they were asked. They just went, nah, no chance. He's 28. He's got no chance. But he's clearly thinks he's got an opportunity. He's definitely playing like that. And, you know, that will be in the back of his mind. And he wants to prove to Man United that he's still got it. Because, you know, he's a Manchester boy. And, you know, it probably hurts him, the fact that he's had to go out on loan to try and prove himself away from his boyhood club. So he's got a lot to prove, both at club and international level. So I'm not surprised that he's playing with the freedom that he has, but surprised at how quick he's done it, given that, you know, we all expected him to be a bench player for at least the first 2 or 3 games.
Tom didn't, apparently.
I did. I think if you remember correctly and see the tweets, I said he'd be a properly good addition. I think he would eventually get in the side. I didn't think he'd start that first game, I didn't expect him to score 3 and 4, but he's a good player and he always has been.
Do you write in all capitals with about 50 exclamation marks in it? If so, then I think I might have seen it.
Exactly. I've got a sticky lock, mate. That's the issue.
Exactly. Well, look, lads, that's enough of this unformatted stuff. Some of the talking points I sort of took away from it, Jonesy, again, we've touched on the checks there, that they were brilliant. But our goals, obviously, don't come at just the right time, didn't they? Antonio, such a great start. Tom, I think it was you who said it last week. We need to get up and at them quickly and play on that lack of confidence they had. But scoring when we did was brilliant. And then straight away, again, after half time, you think, that is exactly what we wanted. And then, you know, I think, if I'm speaking completely frankly, I think a draw would have been a fair result. Tottenham were easily the best team in the second half. But as a few people have made, Tom, is that, you know, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, we were in a position where we could sit back and try and soak up some of that pressure, weren't we?
Yeah, exactly that. We got ourselves in that position by putting a real good 60-minute shift in. We sort of lost a bit in the tank. You could tell last 30 minutes, a few of them were blowing on fumes. Majority of them have played a stupid amount of football recently. It's been that starting 11 throughout the majority of the season. Rice saying Souček ran 17 kilometers against United, and then he's still got the legs to play week in, week out after. It's just mind-boggling. So they were naturally going to drop deeper. They put Bayo on. I don't know how he's not been playing more minutes for them, because he did look pretty sharp and he pretty much changed the game in their favour when he came on. But
well, Tottenham fans are saying that's his best performance for them since he's returned, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, because he did look dangerous. But yeah, we dropped deep, but the back four yet again stood up to a man. They were superb. The amount of crosses they stopped. A team like Tottenham's going to get a few chances, and we did ride our luck, but we have done a few times this season, and maybe that's the difference between other teams we've had in the past, which were nearly teams.
Yeah, I mean, them hitting the post and the bar like they did, you just think, oh, Jesus. The bar one, yeah. They really should have scored there, shouldn't they? Oh, the fantastic block from Declan Rice, but from that position before that, he should be. Bale's a bit unlucky. Good technique there to keep that spinning ball down. Yeah, but you know, if a goal had come for that, you think fair enough. But Jonesy, I think if you had to pick a negative from it, I'd have said Cresswell. He didn't have his best game. He seemed a little bit sloppy on the ball. and most of Spurs' dangerous attacks in the second half, particularly, seemed to come down his flank. I know Spurs changed it up slightly, where they had quite a lot of success with players dropping in that line between our defence and Souček and Rice. But yeah, did not one of Cresswell's finest games, but again, nothing terrible. Did you find the same or completely disagree?
I mean, it wasn't his best game in a West Ham shirt. It wasn't his best game this season, but I don't think he was particularly poor. A lot of the play,
5 out of 10, 5 out of 10, I reckon.
Oh, I think that's a little bit harsh, mate. At least go 6.
I'm just annoyed because I can't impersonate him.
Yeah, no. When he's involved defensively as much as he was at the weekend, obviously his performance is going to be highlighted more than anyone else. He's not going to stop every single player from running past and dribbling past him. He's going to, and particularly when he's up against the likes of Bale, Reguilon, and was it Doherty came on, and even had Son at some point as well, who's drifting. So it was never going to be a 10 out of 10 performance, given that he had all those world class players running at him after the afternoon. But I don't think it was his worst performance, and he's been fantastic this year. So you can forgive him for having a 5, 6, or 6.5 out of 10 performance every now and then, given how good he's been.
6.5. Don't know about that. No, but I'm not being harsh. I don't want to get a load of tweets again like I did after Ben Rama the other week saying how harsh I was being. I just think if you had to pick a negative point, I just found a couple of times I was getting a bit frustrated with him, even on the ball as well. It was a bit sloppy. But Tom, did you agree with that statement? A few people have said it about a draw probably being a fair result. Obviously, it's brilliant to win, and I was loving it as much as anyone. I do think that would have been fair. Harry Kane had a few opportunities, didn't he? I thought Fabianski had an excellent game, by the way. He sort of gets overlooked a lot this season, but he's been wonderful. I thought he was great again. Harry Kane, I think a couple of them chances didn't have his shooting boots on, did he? I think he put one wide close to half time, and then a couple would have just sort of gone through people's legs. Those usual shots he gets out of his feet that normally nestle in a bottom corner could easily have been a draw, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think they had the chances to definitely get something out of that game, and you'd be stupid to say not. But at the same time, I think we did enough to win the game and have a claim to winning it. For the first 60 minutes, we were open, and the end of the first half, and for a lot of the first half, it must have been an unbelievable game to watch the neutral, because it was so open in the midfield, just a lot of open space for people to run into. And I think we've got to give credit to Moyes. A lot this season against the top 6, we haven't done that. We've sat so deep and eventually just sort of waited out in our bunker until they score. And that's why we had 2 points from 21 until this weekend. So the fact that we changed that gave us enough to win it. But at the same time, we did get our fair share of luck, which we haven't had in years, because a draw probably would have been minimum. If you're a Spurs fan, you'd be fuming.
Yeah, and that's what I think. Spurs fans having absolute meltdowns after the game, but ultimately that could easily, and we're saying it could have been a draw. They could have won that 3-2 with the chances they had. Harry Kane, I'm surprised he didn't score one of those. The one where Declan Rice makes that mental block. If Kane hadn't taken the extra touch before he played it across, it doesn't matter who you are, Declan Rice or Super Rice or anyone. If he played that pass a step sooner, that's a tap in for either one of them. Bale hits the bar again. I think Tottenham fans have an absolute meltdown about it, which is lovely to see, of course. But yeah, I don't think really, it wasn't like they got absolutely drubbed or they weren't in the game at any point. They were clearly the better team in the second half. But one more, lads, before we move on. Brilliant to beat Tottenham at home. Brilliant to go fourth. That's just 1 point Tottenham have got off of us all season. 4 points against Spurs. You'd have that every single season, wouldn't you, to never ever lose to Tottenham again. But Pablo Fornals, I still nothing bad to say about him at all. Not a negative thing. I just don't really get him still. He seems to, especially on the ball. I know he works his absolute little Spanish socks off the ball, doesn't he? Running about all over the place. But I find on the ball, when we've got the ball, he just seems to slow things down a bit. He never does anything particularly incisive where I think, oh, that's excellent. He was billed to us as this really technical player coming over from Villarreal. I'm trying to gauge from your faces which one of you disagrees with me most at the moment. And it looks like Jones. Again, nothing bad to say about him, and I never ever when he's in the team think, oh no. But I expected Tom was going to be annoyed that Benrahma wasn't playing, and Moyes likes to play Fornals against the bigger teams. But it's more when we're on the ball. I find myself getting frustrated quite a lot that the tempo seems to slow down whenever it gets played out to him, Jonesy.
I think we saw at the weekend the best thing that he brings to the team, and that's his fantastic dance moves.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll be honest, I couldn't take my eyes off his hips during that celebration.
Yeah,
just
hips
proper Spanish. It was wonderful. It was great. But I kind of get where you're coming from. Shockingly,
yeah, I know. I can't believe it.
I mean, I kind of get it. I think the reason why David Moyes likes him, as he said, his work rate is second to none. He gives us those legs. He'll press. He'll happily press. But what does he bring? I think it's just consistency. He never really has a bad game, does he?
No, definitely not.
He does. I know he's in he's a completely different position, but he reminds me a little bit of Hayden Mullins in that you forget you forget he was in the pitch, but
until
he never
he's
has a bad
not.
game.
Yeah.
Exactly. He never has a bad game, but then you kind of never really notice that he's there. I think that he got the assist for Lingard's winner. He does occasionally make those runs in behind, and does create space for his teammates with some of his runs in behind.
Did he get the assist or did he just move out of his way?
No, he
played it anyway back into him.
He played it back into him and then went to take the shot and then got out of his way.
Right.
Thankfully, because he would have been offside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that
he would have missed as well.
There is that. Yeah.
that poor astronaut would have headed it back down to earth. I think all in. He's a safe pair of legs in midfield. It occasionally creates something. It occasionally get the odd goal. Perhaps he might be a little bit underwhelming in terms of what we thought we were getting from Villarreal. But if he's going to just play consistently, put in a consistent 6 or 7 every week, then take it all day long without the goals and assists because he's got the work rate.
Definitely. Tom, just quickly on that one then before we move on that, I think the reason it came from at the beginning, James says there about his work rate, which is absolutely brilliant, and Jared Bowen I think is similar on the other side. I think his decision making can be questioned at times, but when you've got Benrahma sitting on the bench, I know you're a massive Benrahma fanboy, Tom, and I still have no real preference over the three of them, but we know that Benrahma works hard as well. He's not just a show pony, is he? He is great on the ball, but he does work hard as well, which therefore seems to me to suggest that he might bring slightly more than Fornals. I think the amount of times that Benrahma gives the ball away might be more because he is perhaps that little bit more of a risky choice for Moyes, which is why Fornals probably gets more time against big teams. But do you feel that it's like a head-to-head between them two for that last spot, seeing as Bowen seems to be an auto pick every week, or do you think it's just nice to have that variety for Moyes to choose from in that attacking line?
I think, firstly, I do think you're right. I think it is nice for Moyes to have 3 good players, and by all means, they're Premier League players to a man. And Fornals has played for Spain. Benrahma's an international footballer. Bowen's taken to the Premier League very well in his first 18 months, so he should get better. So, got 3 good players there, but the thing I think both of you said, I think, Fornals gets picked because of his reliability. It's a bit like the Spanish James Milner. You know what you're going to get out of him, and maybe every now and then he'll pop up with some kind of contribution, and I love him, and I do, and he'd play anywhere for the shirt. Honestly, I think he's one of the few foreign players we've bought in for big money recently who loves it and absolutely is committed to the cause and really would go over and beyond for us. So I think I don't have a bad word to say about him, but I do think we lose quality. When both Bowen and Fornals play, we don't have that presence of mind in the final third. I think Bowen, brilliant ball for the first goal, superb. But that happens once every 3 or 4 games with him, and we know he's got the quality to do it, and he gets in so many positions, and he doesn't deliver, where I think we've seen Benrahma, he actually gets in those final third positions. He rarely makes the wrong choice, and he always tends to create space and doing opportunities for his teammates. So I think he deserves more football. I think he should, but I think against teams like Tottenham, I think playing Fornals is a safe bet, and I will never have a go at Moyes for that, however much I love Saïd Benrahma.
Yeah, perhaps Pablo Fornals probably wouldn't be surprised to see him against City at the weekend again to contain those big teams. Tom, I think there you've given me two contenders for the title of this week's podcast. Spanish James Milner was my initial favourite. Absolutely love that shout. And Over and Beyond, which appears to be a new phrase that you've come up with on the spot to replace Above and Beyond.
Come on.
Exactly. Tom Edwards special there. Well, lads, look, brilliant start to the show, some in-depth Spurs reaction. I'm delighted